Deion Sanders, aka Coach Prime, going on record and saying his son, Shedeur Sanders, will start for the Cleveland Browns this season. Just let that sit for a second. This isn't some anonymous league insider whispering rumors in a hallway. This is Deion, a Hall of Famer, a media magnate, a man who has dominated headlines since the 90s. And he's not predicting it might happen eventually. No vague, the kid's gonna be great someday. No. He says it's happening this year.
If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed.
And the moment that quote hit the airwaves, you already knew Stephen A. was going to have something to say. Cue the camera lights. Cue the finger pointing. Cue the volume getting turned up to 11. And Stephen A. did what he always does best, made it personal, dramatic, and unignorable. Because say what you will about him, the man knows how to stir the pot without even touching the spoon. Let's break this down, because what's happening here isn't just about Shedeur Sanders and the Browns. It's about the future of how we evaluate quarterback readiness in the NFL, the power of media narratives, and, yes, the growing shadow of player brand influence. When Deion made that statement, it didn't just raise eyebrows, it rattled the Browns' entire quarterback room. Think about it. You're a QB in Cleveland, already dealing with a shaky offense, an impatient fan base, and front office tension. And now the most talked about rookie in the league has his father, who also happens to be one of the most recognizable sports figures on earth, declaring to the world that his son will replace you this year. Oh, and ESPN is looping the quote on every broadcast. National analysts are taking sides. Fans are tweeting #StartShedeur before breakfast. You feel that pressure in your helmet every time you take a snap. And here's the kicker, Stephen A. didn't exactly shut it down. Sure, he played the pump the brakes card. He reminded people about the greats who waited. Mahomes behind Alex Smith. Rodgers behind Favre. He emphasized patience as a virtue. But did he deny the possibility of Shedeur starting this year? Not really. Instead, he did what he always does. He posed a question. Loudly. Dramatically. With that signature blend of incredulity and intrigue. Now, I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm saying, are the Browns prepared for what that means? And that is the real conversation. Because Deion saying Shedeur will start this season? That's not just confidence. That's a challenge. A dare. A public line in the sand for an organization already fumbling its quarterback identity for what feels like decades. So what's the Browns' move? Let's be honest. They didn't draft Shedeur Sanders to be a clipboard-holding spectator. They knew who they were getting. A walking headline. A QB raised by primetime himself. A player who's been media-trained since childhood and has the skill set to back it up. But they also knew they'd have to manage the noise. And baby, that noise has turned into a rock concert in a hurricane. Because now the debate isn't just if Shedeur starts this season. It's when. And depending on who you ask, it's either. Way too soon, and Cleveland needs to protect their asset from being thrown into the fire before he's ready. Or, way too late, and the Browns are wasting valuable reps by clinging to mediocrity out of fear or pride. Stephen A. clearly leans somewhere in the middle, but let's not pretend like he wasn't itching to say Shedeur should be in right now. He danced around it. But the subtext was loud and clear. If your offense is dragging and your fan base is restless and you've got this much talent on the bench, what exactly are you waiting for? And that's a fair question, especially when you zoom out and look at the bigger picture. Let's talk about what Shedeur represents, because it's not just arm talent. It's vision, not just on the field, but off it. This is a player who didn't even enter the draft until the conditions were just right. He didn't fall to a random team in the mid-first round like most prospects. No, he picked his spot. Or rather, his camp picked it for him. That means pressure. That means expectation. That means stakes. And now that he's in Cleveland, the most tortured quarterback market in the NFL, all eyes are watching, waiting, refreshing the depth chart every Monday morning to see if the coaching staff has come to their senses. So when Deion says he's going to start this year, he's not just speaking something into existence. He's daring Cleveland to prove him wrong. And if there's one thing Deion Sanders doesn't do, it's bet against his kids. So what does Stephen A. really think? He'll never say it outright, but you can tell. He knows what's coming. He knows the Browns' leash on their starter is getting shorter by the quarter. He knows the pressure is mounting. And he knows that if the offense lays another egg, someone is getting benched, and Shedeur's not the one holding the clipboard anymore. But here's where it gets interesting. Stephen A. also knows the risk. He's seen what happens when quarterbacks are rushed. He's seen how media pressure can break a young player before he even finds his rhythm. He knows that once you give the fans what they want, you can't take it back. If Shedeur starts and struggles, that moment becomes a clip, a headline, a meme, a narrative. So what's the answer? It's balance. And that's the chess game the Browns are playing, or at least trying to. Wait too long, and you miss the spark. Start him too early, and you risk a firestorm. But ready or not, Shedeur Sanders is coming. Stephen A. knows it. Deion knows it. Cleveland knows it. And now, the clock is ticking. So what do you think? Is Deion right? Will Shedeur start this year? Is Stephen A. playing it safe or hinting at something bigger? Should Cleveland unleash the rookie or keep him behind the curtain a little longer? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want more of the drama, the debate, and the absolute chaos of the NFL's juiciest storylines, hit that subscribe button. Because if Shedeur does start, you better believe we'll be here for every single snap. Because when Deion Sanders says anything about football, the sports world listens. But when Deion Sanders talks about his son, a quarterback he's raised, coached, and built a brand around, the volume doesn't just get louder, it becomes deafening. So let's be real. Deion wasn't just making a fatherly prediction. He wasn't just being supportive. He was sending a message to the Browns, to the media, to the league, to anyone still underestimating what Shedeur Sanders represents. Now, let's look at what's happening inside the Browns building right now. I promise you, every coach, scout, and executive in that building heard Deion's quote, loud and clear. It wasn't some back-page opinion piece. It was national. It was bold. And it put a very public spotlight on a private problem. What is Cleveland actually doing with Shedeur Sanders? Because here's the awkward truth they don't seem to know. They've had a first-round rookie with NFL-ready poise, elite football IQ, and literal viral-level charisma. And yet, they keep trotting out an offense that looks allergic to the end zone. Every press conference, they say the same thing. We're working through the process. We believe in our guys. Shedeur is developing well. Cool. But when your offense is throwing up stat lines that look like preseason games, and your fan base is basically holding a candlelight vigil for competent quarterback play, the process starts to feel more like a stall tactic. And now, the sand is running out of the hourglass. Fast. Because when Deion speaks, he shifts timelines. He doesn't need to scream or pound the table. All he has to do is make one calculated statement, and suddenly the narrative shifts from when will Shedeur get a chance to why isn't Shedeur starting already? And let's be honest, he's not wrong. Because look around the league right now. Quarterbacks drafted in the same class as Shedeur are already starting. Some are thriving, some are struggling, but they're all playing, getting reps, making mistakes, learning the speed of the NFL. And Shedeur? Still holding a clipboard. Let's not ignore the elephant in the room. The Browns' offense is not working. They're scraping together field goals, missing easy throws, wasting elite defensive performances. And yet, Shedeur waits. Which raises the ultimate question. What are they waiting for? Are they afraid he'll struggle? Afraid it'll reflect poorly on the coaching staff? Afraid to admit that maybe, just maybe, their current starter isn't the future? Because here's the twist. Deion's statement might be the only thing that saves the Browns from themselves. It forces the issue. It makes the team confront a decision they've been dragging their feet on for weeks. And now they have to act. Because if they don't start Shedeur soon, they're not just ignoring talent. They're risking a full-blown PR crisis. Fans are already turning on the coaching staff. Sports talk shows are circling like sharks. And every game that passes without Shedeur stepping onto the field feels more and more like a wasted opportunity. This isn't about hype anymore. This is about timing. And timing in the NFL is everything. Let's say the Browns win a few more ugly games, squeaking by with field goals and lucky bounces. Does that mean you're winning? Or are you just delaying the inevitable? Because if you're Shedeur Sanders and your dad just went on national TV and essentially guaranteed you'd start, every game you don't play becomes a statement. Not from you, from the team. It says, we're not ready to trust you yet. And eventually, that trust breaks. Not just between player and coach, between organization and legacy. Because Deion Sanders isn't just some helicopter parent. He's a Hall of Fame player, a head coach, a leader, a man who knows what greatness looks like and believes, without hesitation, that his son has it. And the thing is, he's not alone. Talk to people in league circles, scouts, analysts, even rival players. They all say the same thing. Shedeur Sanders can play. He's smart. He's composed. He's ready. The only people who seem unsure? The ones making the game day decisions in Cleveland. Now I get it. Throwing a rookie into the fire is a risk. No one wants to ruin a player by starting him too early. We've seen promising quarterbacks get rattled, thrown to the wolves, and lose their confidence. But here's the difference. Shedeur Sanders isn't wired like those guys. He's been under the microscope for years. He's had cameras in his face since high school. He's faced pressure, criticism, expectations, and still, he never cracks. So if your fear is that he's not mentally ready, that he can't handle the spotlight, you're already wrong. He lives in the spotlight. He owns it. And that's what makes this moment so critical. Because if the Browns wait too long, they'll miss the window. They'll overthink it. They'll let the pressure paralyze them instead of inspire them. And worst case scenario? Shedeur doesn't get his chance, requests a trade next season, and becomes a star somewhere else. Sound familiar? It should. Because Cleveland has been here before. Johnny Manziel, Baker Mayfield, even Deshaun Watson to some extent. The Browns have a long history of mismanaging quarterbacks. And now they have a shot at rewriting that legacy with a player custom-built to succeed. But they have to act. And that brings us back to Stephen A. Because what he did, knowingly or not, was start the countdown. He gave the Shedeur situation mainstream momentum. It's no longer just Deion talking. Now it's the entire ESPN machine weighing in, debating, and demanding answers. Every week, Shedeur doesn't play? That's a segment. Every 3 and out by the current starter? That's a tweet storm. Every loss? That's a microphone in Kevin Stefanski's face asking, why isn't Sanders starting yet? And eventually, that pressure builds. It forces change. It becomes inevitable. Which brings us to the heart of the matter. This isn't about whether Shedeur can start this year. It's about whether the Browns have the guts to let him. Because Deion has made his move. Stephen A. has poured gasoline on the fire. And now, the ball is in Cleveland's court. Will they blink? Will they double down on the process, on safe decisions, on protecting their pride? Or will they take the leap? Will they trust the talent? Trust the moment? Trust the player who's done everything right since he walked through their doors? The clock is ticking. And Shedeur? He's warming up. The Browns just pulled off a win against the previously undefeated Packers. A win. You'd think this would be a time for celebration. Pop the champagne, cue the "We Believe" posters, rally the city. But instead, nobody's talking about the win. They're talking about Deion Sanders. They're talking about his son. And they're talking about why, despite all the noise, despite the swirling rumors and mounting pressure, Shedeur Sanders is still not starting. That alone tells you everything you need to know about where this franchise is right now. Even after a victory, the entire narrative shifts back to a quarterback controversy that hasn't even happened yet. But here's the thing. This isn't just drama for drama's sake. This is about a reckoning. Because Deion's statement didn't just hit like a dad hyping up his son. It dropped like a press release from a player agent who already knows the next 5 moves on the board. Shedeur is going to start for the Browns this season. Not might. Not if things go south. Not when he's ready. Going to. That's not a projection. That's a prophecy. And when Deion Sanders makes a prophecy, you'd better listen. Because the man isn't in the business of speaking without intention. That quote was calculated, confident, and entirely public. He said it not just to hype up Shedeur, but to let Cleveland's leadership know. The clock has officially started. And now, every second that ticks by without a decision, the pressure only grows. Which brings us to the real question here. Why the delay? Why, after everything? After watching the offense sputter, after hearing the calls from media and fans, after a Hall of Famer declares it's inevitable. Why is Shedeur still riding the bench? Let's break it down. Scenario A. The Browns are trying to protect him. Okay, sure. You don't want to toss a rookie into the chaos. Maybe you think it's best to let him adjust, take mental reps, watch and learn. Totally fair. But here's the problem. Shedeur isn't just any rookie. He's not some deer-in-headlights prospect who needs hand-holding. He's been under pressure since high school. His entire college career was a media event. He knows how to command a locker room, handle scrutiny, and read defenses. In short, he's not afraid of the stage. So if this is protection, it's starting to look more like paralysis. Scenario B. The Browns don't want to admit their current starter isn't working. Now, we're getting warmer. Because the truth is, making a switch at quarterback, especially when it involves a rookie with a famous last name, changes everything. It's not just about performance. It's about politics, about pride, about conceding that what you're doing now isn't good enough. And that's a hard pill to swallow. But let's be honest, the tape doesn't lie. The Browns' offense isn't dangerous. It isn't even functional most weeks. They've been winning in spite of their quarterback play. Not because of it. So what are you holding on to? If the goal is to make a playoff push, why not put the ball in the hands of your most talented passer? Because make no mistake, Shedeur Sanders has the juice. Pocket presence, accuracy, leadership, swagger. You name it, he's got it. So what are we doing here? Are we really pretending that a few more weeks of waiting and developing are going to magically unlock something we haven't seen already? Come on. This isn't about development. This is about control. Because once you start Shedeur, the leash is off. The narrative changes. There's no going back to we're figuring things out. The minute he steps on the field, the Browns are either a team with a star rookie or a team who ruined their golden opportunity. No in between. And let's not forget about the outside noise. You think this is intense now? Imagine Shedeur gets in by week 10, throws for 300 yards, and wins his debut. What do you think happens to this coaching staff? They go from respected decision-makers to people who sat on gold for 2 months. And they know it. That's why they're stalling. Not because they don't believe in Shedeur, but because they're terrified of the implications. And that's where Deion's quote is brilliant. It rips off the Band-Aid. It forces the issue. It lets everyone know. This isn't just a fan fantasy or media narrative. This is real, and it's imminent. And you can bet Stephen A. knows it. He may play coy. He may talk about development and learning curves. But he knows where this train is headed. Stephen A. sees the inevitability. And honestly, so do we. Because here's what's going to happen. The Browns are going to hit a wall. Maybe it's a close loss. Maybe it's a blowout. Maybe the defense finally gets tired of carrying the entire franchise on its back. But eventually, the calls for Shedeur won't just be loud. They'll be unavoidable. And when he finally gets the nod, the NFL will tune in like it's a premier event. Because love him or not, agree with the hype or not, everyone wants to see what Shedeur can do. And let's be real, he's going to deliver. Not because Deion said so. Not because ESPN's building graphics around it. Because Shedeur has been preparing for this moment his entire life. This isn't new for him. This isn't pressure. This is home. He's not stepping onto the field to survive. He's stepping on to own it. And when that day comes, when that first pass hits a receiver in stride and the stadium erupts, all of this, the waiting, the debates, the predictions, it'll feel like background noise to the main event. So here's the bottom line. Cleveland has a choice to make. They can lead the moment or be swallowed by it. Start Shedeur, and you spark a new chapter. One that fans actually believe in. One with momentum, energy, and real upside. Keep delaying and risk watching him shine somewhere else. Because one way or another, Shedeur Sanders is going to be a starting quarterback in the NFL. The only question left is, will it be in Cleveland or after Cleveland screws it up? You've got a rookie quarterback with NFL bloodline swagger, a generational media storm brewing, and a fan base that's gone from cautiously curious to outright impatient. And at the heart of it all, a decision that's been dragged out like a bad breakup. Start Shedeur or don't, but stop dragging the kid through the fog. And let's not forget the optics here. Because every time Shedeur walks onto that sideline in full uniform and doesn't take a snap, it's not just a coaching decision. It's a message. One that says, we don't trust you yet. And if you're Shedeur, you hear that. Loud and clear. You're not just waiting for your number to be called. You're sitting there watching mediocre drives, missed throws, and an offense that couldn't score in a free buffet line. And you're expected to just clap it up and keep learning? No shot. This isn't a kid who needs mentoring. This is a quarterback with one of the sharpest football minds in his class, with pocket presence that doesn't rattle, and a sense of leadership that commands respect without even raising his voice. The man was born into pressure. He's not scared of this moment. But the Browns? They might be. Because let's face it, once Shedeur starts, the clock resets. It's no longer about what the Browns could be. It's about what they are. If he's great, the narrative flips overnight. If he struggles, suddenly everyone's pointing fingers. And in the NFL, those fingers start with the coaching staff. So yeah, maybe that's why they're hesitant. Maybe that's why Shedeur's still sitting. But guess what? Fear is not a strategy. If you're too scared to play your most talented quarterback because you're afraid of what it says about the other guys, you're not managing a team. You're managing optics. And the thing about optics? They fade. Results don't. So here's what's coming. A moment. One play. One interception. One brutal offensive drive that finally tips the scales. And when it happens and the crowd starts chanting, and the camera pans to Shedeur on the sideline, helmet on, calm as ever. That'll be it. That'll be the moment Cleveland realizes it wasn't about readiness. It was about fear of letting go. And once Shedeur Sanders takes that first snap, there's no going back. You ready for it? Because if you think this drama's intense now, wait until the Browns finally hand him the keys. Hit that subscribe so you don't miss the game-changing snap that rewrites Cleveland's season. And tell me in the comments, is it time? Or are the Browns just not built for this moment?